for joining. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. And thank you so much, Anita, for taking today's webinar, uh, the beautiful session you are taking today.
Okay, so
So, I will introduce our women chair, National Women Chair Jayanti. Let's wait, or how we should go, Nivedita? She has not
and
joined.
let Meenakshi play the history video, and in case Jayanti doesn't join, you can straight away introduce the speaker, and she can take it forward.
Okay.
Meenakshi
Meenakshi,
video play कर लेना please.
Meenakshi, can you
हाँ,
please share the Ishre video?
यस मैम कर रही हूँ एक सेकेंड.
ISHRE stands tall in the Indian industry with over 30,000 professionals and student members. Founded in 1981 and headquartered in Delhi, we operate from more than 50 chapters and sub-chapters spread all over India and members from across the world, expanding our horizon and bringing in our entire industry together. This vision has resulted in ISHRE growing internationally with the initial addition of 3 new overseas chapters at Bangladesh, UAE and Qatar. Individuals become members of our society according to their professional and academic standings. Our roadmap of the future looks very bright, with thousands of new members joining this technical society every year and bringing in a fresh outlook to our industry intelligence. ISHRE disseminates knowledge through its technical committees, which consist of some of the best minds of our industry. It publishes technical books and a prestigious journal distributing a wealth of knowledge to all its members. Working with government departments, ISHRE helps formalize industry codes and standards. ISHRE promotes research by offering financial support to students members to carry out groundbreaking work in technology, systems and processes. Our educational wing, ISHRE Education Committee, organizes training programs and workshops to help members enhance their skill sets. Our specially designed certification programs under ICP, that is, ISHRE Certified Professional, empower professionals to always be in step with the prevailing technology. Specially designed courses for technicians are offered to meet the ever-increasing demand for a skilled workforce. ISHRE organizes exhibitions, conferences, panel discussions and product presentations throughout the country. We organize the industry's largest international exposition in South Asia, Acrix India, to showcase the cutting-edge technology, innovation and provide a platform for closer interaction amongst the decision makers in the industry. Our chapters organize several other popular national events like AcreConf in Delhi, AcreTech in Bangalore, Recon in Kolkata, Symposia in Mumbai, TechFest in Goa, Confluence in Ahmedabad, ACR Trends in Pune, and many more. The chapters in India and overseas conduct theme-based national programs like Urja Varan, AcreServe, Pharma Connect and RAFCON. Cold chain industry is developing at a faster pace in India. ISHRE promotes refrigeration and cold chain by organizing South Asia's largest exhibition, RefGold India, exclusively for this sector every year in Indian cities, and ensures a platform for global investment and community to connect with stakeholders. We are committed to provide training and career guidance to our student members through seminars, lectures, quiz contests, and site visits. eQuest, a prestigious quiz competition organized by ISHRE to catalyze the transformation of the budding engineering professionals. ISHRE provides a platform to potential employers to provide career placement to student members by ensuring The industry provides job opportunities on our web portal, the first of its kind, accessible to student members. A great opportunity for placements in the fast-growing HVACR industry with just a few clicks. Young minds are made aware of the need for saving energy, clean air, and sustainability through interaction with industry. The K-12 initiative of ISHRE focuses attention of school students' development to inculcate a scientific fervor and help develop them into responsible citizens. ISHRE collaborates with various national and international societies and associations, industry, governments, academia, think tanks to promote the concept of sustainability, environmental protection, energy efficiency and conservation, to enter and explore the universe of the Indian HVACR industry. Log on to ishre.in that unfolds a panorama of information. Let us engineer a sustainable future together through ISHRE.
Thank you, Meenakshi, for this video.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, I'm again welcoming all the ladies and gentlemen for today's webinar, Future with Sustainability and Built Environment. Welcoming again. So going forward, I really apologize. Our woman chair, Ms. Jayanti, she is occupied in some pre-planned program. So we'll start the program with the introduction of our today's speaker, Dr. Anita N. Borade. She is a PhD in civil engineer from Sardar Vallabhbhai National Institute of Technology, Surat. She has more than 24 plus years of experience in the engineering and consulting industry and government organization and research. She mostly focuses on promoting integrated design and energy efficient solution for green building, provides low carbon solution for design to occupancy. She was convener for Urja Varan. Also, she is a CWC member and treasurer for ISRE Nasik chapter. So I am welcoming Dr. Anita N. Borade. She will today explain about sustainability in terms of water conservation, energy efficiency design, and waste management, why it's important for green building environmental. So I am welcoming Anita to start your session. Hello, Anita.
Yeah, I'm audible.
Hello.
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. Good evening.
Anita, there is a echo.
One moment. Now it's okay.
Anita, you can log off from the other device and just stay on one because there's an echo coming up.
Now it's okay. Still there is a echo.
Yes, Anita.
Yeah, now it is okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I thought that video is not getting on here in the laptop, so thought to get got joined into this one. So hello everyone, all the participants. Thank you, Women's in ISHRE, for giving me this opportunity and presenting on the topic scheduled to me. Shall I share my presentation?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So my screen is visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes. So once again, good evening. My presentation is on sustainability in built environment and its future. So what we are looking towards. So first is what we are looking for. What is the sustainability? So sustainability is nothing but a green building in which we use less water, energy efficient, conserves natural resources, generate less waste, and provides healthier spaces to the occupants. Where what is meant by sustainability? Sustainability is nothing but we take care while construction of any building, either it is factory or residential or commercial or temple or any institutional construction, that should be environmental friendly, taken care of the nature. Now, this sustainability is not new to India. All our heritage structures, very temples, from the what we can say wells, are the good example of the sustainability or sustainable construction. Now, what we are taking care of in sustainability, or what are the Indian ethos, what we have considered in our last structures or past structures, or our we can say ancient structures, is we take care of and we respect the 5 elements of the nature. That is, we call is Pancha Mahabhuta. One is Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, and Akash. So, while taking care of this all Indian ethos or Panchamabhutas, we plan our structures. And if we take care of that, it will definitely help us for the sustainable development and long-term conservations. So in a sustainable structures, when we consider what it do, it is planned for the conservation of the natural resources. Now, what are the natural resources? Either it is a soil, or it is a wood, or there are the what we can say various materials we are extracting from the natures, that are or iron ores, or the cements, or soil, or rock. They are the natural resources. So we need to take care of these natural resources and conserve them and try to reduce their consumption in our construction. Next is the water. Water is plenty available in our world, but it is, we think it is a free of cost, but now onwards it is not going to be free of cost. So taking care of that, we need to conserve the water by various practices. Then construction of the structures, construction of any structures, when we are designing, it should be energy efficient. So why we are need to design the energy efficient structures? That one is, we know that there is a global warming or decarbonization is a concept, or the Paris Agreement is there. What it says, we need to reduce the temperature of the earth, or we can say we have a targets of reducing the carbon emissions. So why to reduce the carbon emission? Because of the carbon release into the nature, we are increasing the earth temperature. And if it increase after certain period, there will be definitely the possibility of survival of the human being on the earth will be get vanished. So we have to reduce the carbon emission from our various activities. So the utmost and major activity is energy we are generating from the coal manufacturing. So coal is a natural resource, and that is also going to be vanish after a certain period. So we need to preserve that natural resource, as well as while energy production, we release a tremendous carbon into the environment. So if we reduce our energy consumption by the designing practices, various designing practices, we can have the energy savings, and hence we reduce the carbon emissions into it. As well as in a green building, sustainable building, we try to avoid we used almost 4R principle. One is a reject, then reduce, recycle, and reuse. So we first try to reduce our waste. If the waste is generated, which is going to be happen, we recycled it. After recycling, possibly we reuse, and then this way we can save the pollution into the environment from the waste is there. And last is what we can say, the benefits. Now, everybody will say, everyone is energy, means money oriented. So why we should go for the sustainable construction? Is it costly? Why should we go? How it is beneficial? One is tangible. So whenever you are constructing any building, any construction, the sustainable building, it has a direct wings from the 20 to 30% in a water saving. Again, there is energy saving up to 30 to 40% is savings in the energy. Then we can have financial benefits from the banks also, as well as in FSI, as it is announced by a various states government for the sustainable construction. Even International Finance that also announce some percentage or what we can say benefits when we are doing the construction in a sustainable way. Intangible benefits, as during the COVID we have seen, where whatever the environment we are staying, that should be healthy. So what is the mean by healthy environment? That is comfortable for the breathing, for our skin, for our respiratory systems. Then that gives a healthy environment, excellent indoor quality, natural lighting and ventilation, and then access to the natural scenes outside when you are sitting inside, you can get the good natural view from your windows. Then transport facility, as well as universally designed structures, hygiene, safe drinking water, sanitation, and along with that, you will reduce the environmental impact of the buildings you are staying in. So whether the sustainable building and the normal building, conventional building is a different? No. They looks like same. They function the same. But the difference is only you can enjoy the excellent daylight throughout the day inside your occupancy. Provide better ventilation so that your energy consumption will be less. Your comfort will be more. Again, energy and water saving, conserve natural resources, and health and comfort. So how we design the sustainable building? So sustainable building is actually an integrated concept. What is integrated concept? Like from the design stage, planning and designing stage, we are long-term planning with the environmentally responsible structure, resource efficient from the design to the construction, operation, maintenance and renovation, and at the end of the life, deconstruction. Whole integrated approach is considered into the green building. So what sustainable building did differently? What is the importance, how they behave differently or make a difference between a normal building and design? So first is the approach. We approach in a sustainable building a holistic way. Integrated design approach and passive design. So integrated design means all the consultants, all the elements required in the building for the construction are sitting together and trying to avoid the clashes and taking care of everybody's part. We design it integrated from the MEP, architect, green building consultant, and different vendors, suppliers, and contractors. So we can take care of all the people, their views to design it, and then a passive way. If we design the structure initially and consider it as a passive means the architectural features like this windows, door, positioning, location, direction, orientation. If we consider geographically, then definitely we reduce the lot of energy consumption or the heat load of the building. Then we use codes and standards like Energy Conservation Building Code, ASHRAE Code, National Building Code, Uniform Plumbing Code, or the Ministry of Environment and Forest. All the guidelines we follow in that, so that your structures will be nature sensitive, environmental sensitive, as well as conservation oriented. Then we suggest, or in sustainable building, technology is taken care for the efficient chillers because energy consumption in the HVAC is the highest. Almost 60% of the energy consumption of any commercial building is because of the HVAC system. So we need to optimize that system. So we use efficient chillers. Then we do the building automations in sustainable building and efficient fixtures we are using. Then while selecting the product in sustainable building, we can use recycled content, local material and eco-labeling so that the carbon emission from the traveling or importing the structures from the long distance will be reduced the transportation carbon emissions. Recycled content means a waste of the material, which is reused and recycled will be get reduce the environmental impact. And eco-labeled means the manufacturing process, selection, everything is formalized or the green certified is it. And we use specialized tool in green building to reduce the energy consumption or optimize the energy consumption through energy simulation, daylight simulation, and life cycle analysis of the structures. So we are in sustainable building, not only at the initial phase, that is called as a capex and opex. There are two phases of the construction. One is a capex, means a construction phase, and opex is the operational phase. So there is a 30% is a capex and 70% is opex. So in a sustainable construction or sustainable building, both capex and opex are considered, and then life cycle analysis is considered in a sustainable structure. So why we need to go for sustainable? That are the savings in the water and waste and everything. So first is, when we are going for the sustainable constructions, we need to take care of first is a sustainable sites. How we can make the site or keep the site as sustainable. So retain the existing trees or plantations or natural slopes or lakes or ponds or everything, whatever there we can preserve it. Then we go for the damaging the minimum damage to the soil of that. If there is a digging of the soil, we preserve that soil because the topsoil is a fertile, and then we preserve that soil. Either we give it to the farmers, and then we avoid the wastage of that soil, or can be used later on for the plantation, or we can use instead of turf or instead of concrete roads, we can use the pavers, grass pavers and all, so that we can reduce the heat island effect from the sides. That is one of the thing. Then in a water, how we can conserve water? First is design all the fixtures, benchmark it as per the Uniform Plumbing Code. Then we can use a low water fixtures with the aerators. Then we can monitor the water. Where are the wastage we can monitor? We can use a dual flush. We can use a rainwater harvesting also, one of the way. Rooftop water we can directly take into the tanks, and then we can use that saved water for our purpose as a gardening or flushing purpose, as well as the same water we can recharge in the ground through the pits. We can collect into the ponds and create the natural sceneries as well as to the ground recharge. Next part is energy conservation. Through energy conservation, how we can conserve the energy in a building. First is to the passive. What I said, the passive means what is the geography of that structures or that construction site is there. Accordingly, we take care of the summer, winter, as well as rainy season. And then we go through the orientation, that which orientation will optimize the energy consumption. And then we orient the building. Then next one is a fixing of windows into the external faces, like sizing, then orientation and the elevation. Either it is a length and width fixing. It will be depends upon the side where we are fixing the windows. Either it is east side or west side, south or north side. Because north side gives you the reflected light very good. So if we are keeping the windows on the north side, it will give you a very natural light, good natural light throughout the day. Then throughout the day as well as throughout the year. Next one, south and west side, there is a tremendous heat from that side. So we try to avoid keeping the windows on that side. But if there is unavoidable, either you keep the smaller size of the window, and second will be shading it with the breakers, sun breakers like chhajjas, horizontal and vertical way, so that there will be minimum sun glaring from that side, so that we can reduce the energy consumption, or we can say reduce the heat ingress inside. If we reduce the heat ingress inside, definitely we reduce the thermal energy required, thermal comfort, and then we reduce the energy consumption required in that particular area. Otherwise, there is a glaring, that is discomfort to the users also, as well as heat load will be increased. Then it will increase your AC load also. So here one example I have taken, that initially in a conventional building, if we are using 150 square feet per TR, now with the various practices of sustainability, we increase that 150 square feet to 600 square feet per TR. That is a tremendous 40% of the saving in the energy we can do through the passive architecture only. Then second energy conservation you can do by the various material selection. Now material selection is when there are the external walls are there, then external walls have a bricks, either it's a blocks, then concretes and all. And then size of the windows in the external wall. So you can see here, the red brick traditionally we are using and preferring and loving, it has a U factor, that is thermal ingress factor is 2.633 watt per meter square Kelvin, whereas it is very less, 0.48 watt per meter square Kelvin for the AAC blocks. So it means that the thermal resistance for the AAC blocks is very less as compared to our traditional bricks, which will reduce your thermal. As well as while selecting your windows or the glass for the windows, we can reduce the VLT, that is visual light transmittance. Without disturbing that, you can reduce the heat ingress by selecting the size type of the windows, or we can say glazing pattern you can change. Now next energy conservation you can do either through the automation in the common areas, like the user sensors, lighting is there, as well as the solar lighting you can use. You can use a non-conventional source of energy, solar or wind energy you can generate at your own facility. You can use LED lights, energy efficient lights into to save the energy into your projects. Next is a waste management, where we can use a material efficiency, we can say. So in waste management, first is a segregate the waste at the source is possible, so that it will be easy to dispose and to recycle also. Then there is a organic waste management is also there. Organic waste management, there are so many ways we can do. Even traditionally in a house also we can manage our kitchen waste with the organic waste management. And then like construction material, there are a lot of construction material goes waste. So that material, so you can use as a recycled and reuse. Like brick bats are, whenever we are using bricks, there are a lot of brick bats goes waste. So that can be used efficiently in a, what we can say, on the terrace for the brick bat coba, where it will again reduce the temperature on the terrace flats is there. Then indoor air quality. Indoor air quality we can achieve through keeping the door, positioning the windows in the external wall and the doors, so that there will be the cross ventilation. Through cross ventilation, there is a, in at least daytime, there is a proper lighting, so that you don't need a light, external light or artificial light during the day, which will reduce the energy consumption, as well as lighting, and that air will become, which will keep the environmental hygiene as well as fresh. So that is one of the way. While positioning the windows in the external wall, you can take care of the heat ingress also, and accordingly you can plan in a passive architecture. So first, when we are going for the sustainable construction, adopting sustainable practices, designing, modeling, simulation, material selection, and all these things, whether it is costly, how much it costs. But it is depends upon what the features you are targeting, how much saving you are targeting. Definitely its OPEX cost will be higher, but it is not more than 1 or 2% more than the basic cost you have designed for your conventional building. But when we are considering the first cost versus life cycle cost, so operational saving offset is always there. So operational cost is always saved by the green building or sustainable building. So there is no cost involved, or nowadays the things are cheaply available, because in 2003 or 4, when the sustainability started in India, the features we want to implement, either it is a glazed glass, or it is a dual flush, or waterless universe, they were so costly because the consumption was very less. Nowadays, its consumption is increased because the awareness of the people are there. That's why they are adopting the things. And that's why the cost per unit is reduced tremendously. That's why there is almost no cost if you wisely select which features to be implemented and what you target for the energy and water conservation, that is there. This is the things, what are the green building. Now, next is the extension of this. What are the future in a sustainability? We need, there are a lot of scope in the sustainability. Either it is a product or they are the services. There is a scope in the energy conservation measures or water savings measures or the modeling and simulations. and sustainability jobs are there. Lots of jobs are there, as well as opportunity for everybody are there as a consultant or product supplier or this one. So rise with the sustainability is easy. It's not costly. So prefer to the sustainable construction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anita. If anyone have any question, they can ask. You can type on chat box or you can unmute and ask. Any question? So I think Anita has taken the session in a very knowledgeable way. So there is no question from our attended side. So I would like to request Ms. Devna to give vote of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anita, for such a wonderful session on this term called sustainability, which is not often very well understood by everyone. And I think you've explained everything in a very simple conceptual terms, which is relatable and understandable by a common person also. And not only the people who are working in this sector, even the occupants' perspective you've shared in this session, which is very interesting and very informative session for all. And I thank you so much for taking up this opportunity of sharing your knowledge and expertise in this session. I thank all the participants for joining in and taking benefit from this session. Thank you, Simple, for hosting this event, this session so nicely. And first of all, I should thank Nivedita for initiating this idea of sharing knowledge from our own women members. This is a very good platform that we have come up with, in which our own women members are sharing their knowledge and expertise. And I would also like to thank our National Women Chair, Jayanti, who's not here with us today, but for making this happen. And this is the second session that we are doing. And I hope that more and more women members take this opportunity to share their knowledge with the entire community. Thank you so much, everyone.
Simple.
There is a
thank you.
question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, sorry. I'm really sorry. I thought there might be a. I'm happy to see few questions are here. So, Dr. Anita, we have few questions. Ms. Sudha, she asked, can you tell me about IGBC owner and tenant building?
IGBC?
IGBC owner and tenant building.
Actually, there are the IGBC is a certifying, one of the certifying body for the green building, and there are so many categories. Almost 32 different categories of the buildings are there. One is tenant occupied and owner occupied. So basically, certification process. There are the 5 elements already I explained in my presentation. So this one.
Okay.
We can take care of all the things. Only the tenant occupied means the building is constructed by the owner, taken care by the owner, but only he sublet for the use. That is the tenant occupied. And owner occupied is the owner himself is using the building. Mostly more than the 50% is the owner's use. Who is the owner and taken the certification. That is owner occupied building. And tenant occupied building, the owner, somebody has constructed the building, maintaining the building, but he is subletting the building for the operation and use purpose to others. That is tenants, we can say, on rent basis or like that. So that mostly happens in a commercial buildings. Am I clear?
So
Hello?
the second question, Mr. Gunjan asked, how much recycle content we are using in various construction material as used practice cases?
See, now which material you are using as a recycled material, that depends on how much percentage you are using. And basically, if you see in a what we can say cement, there are so many materials are there, like fly ash is there, which is the byproduct of thermal power plant. Then GGBS is there, the ground granulated blast furnace slag is there, which is a raw product or waste byproduct of the steel manufacturing industry. Then metakaolin is there, which is available amply into the nature as mountains, or like it is a clay. So which material you are using, that depends a percentage. But up till now, up to 30 to 40% material is replaced in the cement. Either it is a fly ash or slag is there. That is in case. In case of the steel, if you are using, steel is also manufactured from the iron ores. So we are replacing the recycled steel into this one, but that again depend upon the quality of the steel required. So whenever the manufacturer is giving you the recycled content material, they publish their contents also, how much is the replacement and by what material is the replacement. And in waste, other like plastics and all, it is declared by the owner. We cannot standardize it that this much percentage you have to replace. Otherwise, I need to research on that. Okay, I need 50% of the slag into the OPC or OPC cement. That is there. But company is giving 30 to 40% replacement in cement, like up to 10% in the steel.
Okay. The next question again from Mr. Gunjan. As on the time for commercial and residential building, what is TR per square feet we are designing in India?
In India, Energy Conservation Building Code 2016 we are having. That is almost 450 square feet per TR we are designing. But nowadays, this increased up to 750. We have a evidence also of that, 750 TR square feet per TR. Comfortably, with the comfortable. Because now the cooling trend of like air conditioning changes to thermal comfort. We don't need the chilled air to use your blazers into the AC hall, but we need a comfortable environment to stay, not too chilled one, like 18 degree or 20 degree. So that's why we can increase up to 750, which are the evidence available with us for the big, but 450 as per the code you can design. You can prefer to the what we can say ASHRAE code as well as ISHRAE or ECBC code for that. We are designing at 450 plus.
Mr. Dheeraj requested for the presentation. If you could share, then it will be great help for him.
Okay, no issue. If ISHRAE we are providing them, then I don't have any problem to share that.
Okay. So thank you so much. Any other question? If anyone asks, they can type on chat box.
There's one more.
No, Anshul. Okay, Mr. Om Prakash, who approves the 600 square feet TR concept versus 150 square feet TR, which is a rule of thumb for many years?
No, who approved? No, it is a energy conservation building code is there. Energy code is there. ASHRAE codes are there. So they are approving. I'm not telling by myself or my practices or anybody's practices, but it's a code one. So you can go through that code. Miss, the person who is asking, it's a energy conservation building code is there. ASHRAE codes are there for HVAC design. Even ISHRAE has so many codes for HVAC optimization, design and all. So they can follow that code. Codes are not approval by anybody. Codes are codes. Everybody has to follow.
Mr. Jani asked, is there any feedback link of this program?
I'll be happy to see the feedback. So there are a scope to improve.
Meenakshi?
Yes, ma'am.
Meenakshi, Do we have some email ID where we can, where any member can revert? info@ishrahq.in या ऐसा कुछ?
Yeah, ma'am. I have. So I'm just sharing my email ID so that everybody can just send the
Yeah,
questions and
send their feedback.
yeah, sure.
You can.
Nivedita, should we wind up?
Yeah, I think there's no more questions, right? So we
Yeah, there is no more question. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's session. And we are happy to have so many questions, and people have taken the attention for today's session. Thank you so much. Every month we are having new topics. So I would request, please join each month for the new knowledge, new area of expertise. People will come and they will share their knowledge. So I would request everyone to join for next month also. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks a lot.
One minute, just the next session is on 13th of November, where we have a presentation by Shama Jain from KHEMS group. The topic is chiller heat pump. So the flyer will be released shortly. I think, Meenakshi, we can send the flyer tomorrow so that maybe we could send it to, if there are any non-members, we can send it to them as well.
Sure, ma'am. I think it has already shared with the.
Okay. So it will be released.
Yeah.
So if there is a non-member in this today's session, I would request to join Ishre, as we already saw the video where Ishre is taking so much efforts, having so many seminar, technical session, and other knowledgeable session for each and everyone. The people, those are belonging for this industry or not, please join this platform and take benefit whatever they are doing for us. And please join for next month seminar. Okay, thank you so much, Meenakshi. Thanks, Nivedita.
Thank you, Simple.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Anita.
Simple.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you,
Anita, for
Meenakshi.
wonderful session.
Vedna ma'am, Meenakshi ma'am, everybody, thank you for giving me this opportunity. So it was really wonderful experience, actually. Thank you.
Thank you.